Hi everyone, my name is Mary Beth. Welcome to my channel. So today we're going to do a twin flame tip of the day. Let's see what we get. Let's see. Okay, what is the extra? What is the twin flame tip of the day? What's the big tip? What's the twip? Twip of the day, please. What's the twip? One card. For the viewers, what's going to be the twip of the day? What's the twin flame tip? What is it? What is it? What's the twin flame tip? Let's see. What we got? Mirror. Mirror work. When we organize our lives around certain addictions or dependent on certain relationships for happiness, or we're compulsive around something, it's a mirror that we have given up things that are most valuable to us. And now we look for it in our addictions, distractions, codependence, relationships, and so we're seeing the mirror of what is lost. Well, what about that, huh? So I don't know if you've ever done mirror work, right? So mirror work is trying to see, there were some big names back in the day, spiritual teachers who taught about, is it mine? Of course, the answer is always yes. And then it's like, what can I do to heal this? That type of thing. So you'd be asking yourself, you'd make it about you whenever you'd see, oh, so and so is not communicating with me. And then you would have to say, okay, so I'm not communicating with me. Is this really true? Yes. Okay, how am I not communicating with myself? So what they're saying is, and then of course you got to come up with your answers, and then of course when you're writing, you're actually channeling your soul, and stuff will just start hitting your brain, and you will start being able to figure out the why. That's why I like doing the life coaching on Wednesdays, because it helps you to open up your mind and helps you to channel your soul as you're writing. It's very important to do that. Okay. And I do that when I have a to-do list, or when I'm like, well, what do I need to do for this new project? And I'll just start writing. And next thing, things will start hitting my brain. I'm like, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. But anyway, so what they're saying is when we've given up things that are most valuable to us or to the soul, when we've given it up, right? When the soul's like, oh my God, you somehow gotten rid of this valuable skill, or you're some reason you've given away this most valuable trait, or something, right? And now your soul longs for it, okay? And now the soul's like, oh, now we got to get it from something else, and now we got to get it from somewhere else, and now we got to get it from a person, or we got to get it from a distraction, or we got to get it from wherever, right? And so I maybe a good example for me is, I think the big one was emotional connection with myself. And well, how did I give that away? Well, I don't know exactly, but I know I went through some trauma, and I do know a protection mode I went through is when I was beaten as a child. I had learned, and I thought it was pretty neat trick, pretty cool skill, where when you're beaten, you no longer feel it. You feel numb, and it doesn't even hurt. You just check out, and you just disassociate, and then nothing hurts, right? And so I learned how to do that. But what I think it also did was it helped me to, or hindered me to no longer emotionally connect. I kind of disassociated from self. So what then happened was I gave up something very valuable to my soul. And now my soul's all, what? Now we got to go find it. You've lost it. You've given it away. And so every time I got mirrored to me, oh my God, boy, would I get addicted to people who were so emotionally connected to me, especially boyfriends, if they were so emotionally connected to me. oh, they loved me so much, or something like that. Like then it became an addiction for me, right? And I had to be with people like that because I was missing it. I didn't have it in myself. Therefore, I needed it from someone else to be so ridiculously emotionally connected to me that, I couldn't give it to myself. And of course, I always ended up being a really bad, controlling, almost abusive relationship, right? Because it's still a mirror and there's other mirrors there too, right? And if you're abusing oneself, okay, then you end up attracting that as well. And you say, well, how am I abusing myself? Well, there's ways to abuse self. There's ways to self-sabotage. I don't have to physically hit myself. I can abuse myself in other ways. That would be probably chemically inducing, or would be like, oh, I just don't care about myself. Like, I'm going to smoke, or I'm going to eat whatever I want, just stuff like that. So this is a really good tip for everyone, not just twin flames, right? Because everyone understands that when we're missing something and there's a void, then we have to feel it or get it from somewhere else. We have to, because the universe doesn't like a void. And the soul certainly doesn't like a void. And the soul is going to react. And the soul is going to get all emotional. That's how they're going to communicate to you. And you, the avatar, is going to be all, oh my God, why am I so out of sorts? Or why am I so unstable? Or why do I need this so much? Why do I need this person so much? This person's a jerk. That's what I used to say. Like, this person's a jerk. Why do I need him so much? Because I wasn't emotionally connected to myself. And my soul's like, well, we need him because he's got something we don't have, and that is emotional connection to you. And I didn't get it at the time. I didn't see it. And I lived through that for 11 years. But you literally become compulsive about it because it's never actually something you can have. But you think, oh, I got to have this person. But then you also know I can never marry this person. This person's just awful. And it becomes it's like a compulsion around something that's not good for you. And I think a lot of people feel this about their twin flames. They understand that their twin flame is not really good for them. That's not a very good relationship. It's very shadowy. The twin flame, him or herself, is usually not in a good place, usually not very stable. Maybe some areas of life stable, but in other areas not at all. Probably doesn't treat you, the twin flame, very well. And you're faced with this whole, well, I feel this yearning, but I don't know why. And that's why, because you've given something away that the soul needed. The soul needed that. And you didn't know you gave it away. Usually it happens in trauma or some kind of inner child programming, or something where it was maybe taken from you. And there's no one to blame. I'm not saying that. There's no one to blame when something was taken away. Like, it's not my mother's fault, let's put it that way, that I became emotionally connected. I know that sounds weird. You're like, but that doesn't make any sense. It does make sense when you really think about the timelines. And if you ever know about quantum jumping, and if you know about how you are a multidimensional person, you'll know that there's a you on every timeline. Okay. And I picked consciously a me on a timeline where I had a mother that was unstable. But that doesn't mean she was consciously unstable on her timeline, but it was something my soul needed to go through. That doesn't mean her soul needed to go through that. And I'm 100% sure she was not consciously on my timeline, especially in those days. Okay. And it was definitely something that my soul wanted to learn about. And here's the thing, once I started understanding that everything that happens to me is me, and that I did it, and that my soul did it, and my subconscious mind directed it, and everything's just a blank slate anyway until I put a meaning on it, right? Once I started learning all that, but not just intellectually knowing, but embodying it, right? Once you start embodying it, it's a whole game changer. That's when I had to understand, like, There's no one to blame. Yeah, I lost it. Okay, I lost my emotion connection with myself. Obviously, I'm trying to get it from others. Well, I can get it back, and I did. I got it back. And once I started becoming emotionally connected to myself again, well, what did that mean, Mary Beth? How did you do that? Well, I had to emotionally connect to my soul. Okay. And once I started doing that, and I started really enjoying my own company, and I literally made myself stay home for months on weekends because that was my big compulsion where it's like I couldn't be alone. I'd get so lonely. And so I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. And I made sure I was by myself for on weekends, not for 1 month, not for 2 months, not for but I think I did it for 6 months straight. Because I had to, and I had to give it, and I had to figure out how to give it back to myself where I loved myself, I loved my own company, and I didn't need to be with other people for that emotional connection. And this is after me and my twin flame broke up. So I still had the pain of that. And so um, it was hard work, right? But I also learned about the divine feminine, divine masculine energies and what that meant to be stable. And that's when I realized, oof, I am not I am not stabilized in my divine feminine and my divine masculine energies. And then I kind of picked up tools on how to do that. And that's when I did that on the weekends. And I would, because I had to work during the week, right? And so once you start doing the mirror work and you really start seeing that part of you that's missing, and you say, well, I won't get this person in my life because he gives me this. And then if he ever left, now I'm stuck or blah, blah, blah. So you have to learn how to give that to yourself. So if that person does leave your life, right? So I have to look at that way with friends too. Like I've had friends that I've had for like 20 years that all of a sudden we're not talking anymore. And I really have to think back as to why. And then I realized, well, it's not a vibrational match anymore. But what did I get from that relationship? There's obviously something I needed in that relationship. And I didn't want it to end, but then I had to give it to myself. Like what that person gave me, I had to give it to myself. So I had to do it even with friends. I felt very abandoned for a while there. I'm not going to lie. I felt very abandoned. I'm like, oh my God, that friend moved. That friend left. That friend walked away. My twin flame left. It was, and my mother died. It was, my daughter went away to college. I was just literally left alone. It was just the whole thing. I had to go through abandonment. And I had to go through abandonment to learn oneness. Okay. So it's like you got to learn sometimes the opposite of what it is to really understand what it is, right? I didn't know what oneness was. And part of it is understanding that you are everything, everything. You are that. Whenever I get mad at something, I'm like, I am that. If I get mad at gas prices, I'm like, I am high gas prices. I am gas prices. I'm doing that. Well, why am I doing that? Well, and then something hits my brain and it tells me why, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I get okay, I understand. Just stuff like that, right? So anyway, mirror work. So that's the big tip of the day. It's very, 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 very prominent in the twin flame journey where you're being mirrored back the worst of the worst of the worst, mostly abandonment. If you're anything like me, you're abandoned. You're abandoned by your twin flame more than one time, multiple times. And then when you try to get a hold of them, they're always in a relationship with someone else. So it's like can't even be friends. and and basically, you don't have anyone to turn to. You're just basically by yourself. And then all of a sudden COVID hits and now you're really secluded. It's just the whole thing, right? And that's when you really start learning the mirror work. And then when you start really cultivating, so whenever I start getting lonely, I realize, am I lonely or is my soul lonely? And then I realize, well, my soul is my emotion, so my soul misses me. So I just start talking to my soul and I have these long conversations with my soul. And it's very fulfilling. And after I'm done, I'm like, oh wow, I learned a lot. And I'm like, I just got a university full of information. And I'm just like, thanks. It's like, but had I distracted myself by going to a movie, or had I distracted myself with being with a drunk friend, which sometimes I have friends that just get drunk, and there's really no wisdom. I mean, there is, but it's hard to find. And they tell me I'm not fun unless I'm drunk, right? and and then I just feel like when I'm with my soul, I just get so much more in epiphanies, and then I just feel more at peace, and I feel like self love, and I feel fulfillment, and really it is just me, and I just feel so fulfilled. It's just like a feeling, and all of a sudden my whole perspective shifts on everything, and I feel so alive, and I just feel like, oh, life is so wonderful, and how could my life be so great, and I need to teach this stuff. It's like you just get to that point. So mirror work's very important, and it's a constant thing. It never goes away. You're constantly doing the mirror work with everyone. Oh my God. I guess my biggest mirror is my daughter. That's probably my toughest one, is my daughter at this point. My daughter mirrors back to me like where I just want to go, ah. She feels the same way about me though. She's all, you trigger me so much. And she literally makes that face. And then I just have to kind of go within like, okay, do I need to release some trapped emotions? What are these emotions about? Why is this so dramatic? So anyway, but it's all about giving, what we've given up. What part of ourselves have we given up? And it could be something as simple as, hey, creativity. Oh, I love being with this person. This person is so creative. This person is so this. This person is so that. This person is so nice. This person is so nurturing. Well, it's like when you do that for yourself, oh, I'm so nurturing to myself. Oh, I cook for myself. Oh, I'm so creative, and oh, I don't know, whatever it is. And then once you cultivate that in yourself, now your soul doesn't have this void where it's looking outside of itself for it, where it's like, oh, I need something to fill this void. And sometimes you got to figure out what the void is, especially if you're feeling like a longing. So if you feel like, oh, I need to go out, I need to get drunk, I need to get high, I need some pot, oh, I need sugar, I need coffee. Then maybe do some cards, or maybe do a reading, or I don't know, or talk to your soul and just figure, okay, what's the need here? What am I missing? What's the void? And then an answer should hit you, right? Or even if you write it down, like if you write, okay, soul, you just start writing, why am I needing to drink right now? And then if you just start writing, something will start coming through and then start telling you, well, you're not emotionally connected to yourself. Or, well, we need to be a bit more creative in life, or whatever it is, and then you'll start getting the answers, and that will help you. Well, I do hope you enjoyed this uh, twin flame tip of the day. And thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I really appreciate all of you. I appreciate all my viewers. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone. Bye.